Ladies and gentlemen, welcome here today to another edition of NASCAR Thunder 2004 on the channel. It is going to be a fun one as we are back. Dover, Delaware for the MBNA Armed Forces Family 400. First and only trip to Dover on this season. 400 miles, 400 laps around the Monster Mile. We're going to take you through today's stories and today's starting lineup here in a few moments. But before we get really in depth with this, hit that subscribe button for more daily NASCAR content. We do these full race live streams with a realistic broadcast for NASCAR video games on the daily, and this is the one we are doing today. Monkey Friend 27H, welcome to the stream, and we are going to hop on in.
Welcome to Delaware for the running of the MBNA Armed Forces Family 400 at Dover International Speedway. Now, Marty, this is one of the tougher tracks that we come to. Why is that?
This place has got high bank concrete corners that can be really tricky for some drivers. You've got to always be thinking ahead in this race and planning your passes well. Otherwise, you may quickly find yourself in the wall.
Greg Biffle has had some bad luck the last two races.
Oh, he definitely wants to turn things around starting now. His whole crew seems determined to pull out of this slump. I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off at least a top 15.
Casey Mears has not had the finishes he's hoped for in the past couple races.
He definitely needs a good finish, not just for himself, but for the team, the sponsors, and everyone else involved with that team.
Well, we're going to take you through the starting lineup and the interesting stories going into today's race. And first and foremost, as usual, we start off with the front row. Starting on the pole once again this season, Greg Biffle. He's had a rough stretch over the last couple of races, looking to find himself back in victory lane today. Points leader Tony Stewart to his outside, starting in second. Ryan Newman's been in the top three in the point standings virtually all season. He sits second with no wins this year, but he will be starting in third. Dale Jr., he is a one-time winner this year at Martinsville in fourth. Jeff Gordon, Ricky Rudd, both drivers have won a race this season. They'll be starting in row 3. Rudd actually led the points a couple races ago. Rusty Wallace, Sterling Marlin, a couple of old-time veterans back in row number 4. And row number 5 behind them, we've got Matt Kenseth and Bobby Labonte starting this race in 9th and 10th. In row number 6 behind them, we've got two-time Daytona 500 winner Michael Waltrip and Johnny Benson outside of him in 12th. Starting 13th and 14th back in row 7, Dale Jarrett and Elliott Sadler. Jarrett's had a string of consecutive top 5 runs. We'll see if he can continue that into Dover today. Ricky Craven, two-time winner in the Winston Cup Series in his career, will be starting in 15th, 16th outside of him, Kenny Wallace. Jeremy Mayfield, Mark Martin will start back in 9th. Martin trying to get back into better luck like he had at the beginning of the year when he won. Kevin Harvick, Mike Skinner will be back in row number 10. Harvick, of course, won the Daytona 500, had a very inconsistent season since then. Jerry Nadeau and Jeff Green will be in row number 11. For Jeff Green, he swept the Daytona doubleheader, both on the oval and the road course in the last 2 races. Hermie Sadler, Brett Bodine will make up row number 12. Behind them in row number 13, we've got Bill Elliott, former NASCAR Winston Cup champion, and Joe Nemechek outside of him for Hendrick Motorsports in the 25. Rookie Casey Mears on the inside, Christian Fittipaldi on the outside in row number 14. Another rookie on the inside in row 15, Jack Sprague, with Jimmy Johnson outside of him. Robbie Gordon and Kurt Busch will make up row number 16 for today's race at Dover. And then back in row 17, we've got Kevin LePage and Jeff Burton. Ken Schrader, Terry Labonte, back in row 18. David Green, Ashton Lewis in row 19 for today's race. Steve Park, Jamie McMurray will be back in row 20 for the start of today's race. McMurray This is going to end his string of great qualifying performances coming into this race today. Ward Burton, Kyle Petty back in row 21 for today's race. And last but not least, rounding out the field in row 22, Stanton Barrett. And we are going to get into this one. It is going to be a fun race today. There you see Greg Biffle on the pole, about to lead the field to the green. Green flag in the air. We're going to have 400 laps at Dover this afternoon. Great jump into turn one. One of the shorter racetracks on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit. Quickly, Ryan Newman, one of Biffle's rivals, right behind him. Those two have been feuding for the last 3 weeks. Last 3 races, I should say. Newman quickly up to second place, but it'll be Greg Biffle leading lap 1, scoring 5 bonus points. Already Ryan Newman trying to get to that back bumper. Biffle doesn't want him to get on through. Biffle still waiting to give Newman payback at some point in time. Newman has wiped him out in the last 3 races. Biffle just kind of been a sitting duck each and every time, too. Tony Stewart trying to get back around Ryan Newman for second place, both Indiana natives. Again, Stewart just took over the points lead for the first time this season after the Daytona Road Course, which he ran top 5 all day, led some laps. Still winless on the season, but I think him leading the points is all he really cares about right now. Of course, he'd like to find himself into victory lane sooner rather than later. Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart were faster than Biffle in practice, despite the fact Biffle qualified on the pole. You see Jr. now to the inside of Tony Stewart for second place. Like Biffle might be holding these guys up a little bit. We'll have to see. All still nose to tail right now. Tim Irvin, Billy Kramer, welcome to the stream. Home track, nice, Tim. This car seems pretty stable today. I was expecting it to be the case. It's another one of those higher banked racetracks. Again, in this game, it feels like the higher banked tracks are easier to drive than the flatter tracks. Doesn't matter what the speed is on the flat tracks either. It just seems like any one of the flat tracks, it's so hard to keep grip. It's a lot easier on the higher banked racetracks. And we've won some higher banked tracks already this year. Of course, most notably Daytona, Talladega. Or sorry, no, we did not win Daytona. We won Talladega. Finished runner-up in the Daytona 500. Had a good run there, actually led the most laps. We did win the dual race, though. Look at Matt Kenseth trying to make it 1-2 for Roush Fenway. Oh! Biffle slides up the track a little bit. Kenseth almost got underneath him, but Kenseth will pass Dale Jr. for second. Again, with this being the first trip to Dover this season, not sure exactly how far the fuel run will be able to be pushed. We'll have to monitor that on the opening run of the race. Biffle scuffs the wall off of turn 2 for the first time in the early going. Dale Jarrett's worked himself up to 4th. Tony Stewart has fallen now back to 5th. And Ryan Newman, who started 3rd, is quickly outside the top 5. Jr. still hanging around, gets back by Kenseth for second place. Still got a good battle for the lead going on right now, despite the fact Biffle has hit his marks every lap and has been able to hold on to the lead. Watching Christmas movies early. I think it's a little too early to be watching Christmas movies. I'd wait till after Thanksgiving, but that's just my perspective. Nobody's able to really get a run on Greg Biffle either to get underneath him. Kenseth was probably the closest to being able to do it. Not an easy racetrack to pass on. And again, Biffle's really been protecting the bottom quite well. Dale Jarrett's up to 3rd place. Trying to close in on the other Dale Jr. Biffle needs to come out and dominate. He has had a bad stretch in the last 3 races. 2 DNFs and 3 finishes consistently outside the top 25. He needs to get back to his winning ways like he was doing earlier in the season. He has not led in the points yet this year, despite the fact he does have 5 wins in the first 12 races. 4 of them in a row, in fact. Climbed as high as 3rd in the standings and then has fallen back now. He comes into this race outside the top 10 in points. 13th to be exact. Almost 2 full races back from first place. Seems like he runs well in the beginning or the first half of a race, and then he just has bad luck in the second half. He's also DNF'd in 3 of the last 5 races. The only finish in the top 25 in the last 5 races was a win. Another one of those days where he led the most laps and won the race. Maxing out on points. Ethan Trendler, welcome to the stream. I'll tell you what, it feels weird. I felt like I was missing a race today. It's going to take a couple weeks for this to be normalized again where NASCAR is gone, because I'm so used to doing the prediction videos and working on those on the weekends and then the post-race analysis after the race, so it just feels weird doing this middle of a Sunday afternoon and not having to worry about either of those two things. Well, Tony Stewart, after fading back to 5th, has worked his way back up to 2nd. Jeff Gordon's up to 4th place. Dale Jr. back to 5th. Jarrett's still hanging out in 3rd. We'll see if Tony Stewart might be able to challenge for the lead again. I don't know. Biffle's built up a little bit of separation. They're still well within a half a second, but a couple car lengths. Not as much breathing room as Biffle's had in the early going of the race. A little tight going into turns 1 and 2. Tony Stewart trying to get to the inside for the lead. Biffle pushed up the track. Oh, that got close to being able to make contact, and Tony Stewart will take the advantage and clear Greg Biffle off of turn 4 for the lead. Biffle trying to cross him back over to the inside. But Stewart has led his first lap of the race, and that is not what Biffle wanted. It was for the points leader to lead a lap and get those 5 bonus points, but Biffle passes him right back in turns 1 and 2. And now Gordon going for 2nd place on Tony Stewart. And Gordon will take over the 2nd spot. Oh, that was a very bad corner there. Biffle well overran turns 1 and 2, and now Jeff Gordon will take the lead. And Gordon will lead his first lap of the race at the line. The back and forth action here in the early going of the race. Biffle overruns turns 1 and 2 again here. It's going to take him a lot longer to get around Gordon than what it did to get around Stewart. Dale Jr. back up to 3rd meanwhile. Biffle is closing in on Jeff Gordon. Gordon comes into this race in the top 10 in the point standings as well, and as we mentioned in the pre-race that he does have a win this season. That was in the 3rd race of the year. It's been a while. 10 races exactly since Jeff Gordon has gone to victory lane. Nice under-over move, but Gordon is blocking Biffle. Look at this, both cars just sliding all over the place in turns 1 and 2.